Hey everybody, it's Zach from Clarity. I wanted to do a series of videos that talk about psychology and design and some concepts and how they're related, because I studied some psychology in college and some design as well, so it's been a kind of part of my background for the last few years. I think it's really interesting and also important that we as designers kind of know some of these psychological concepts and how people process information and things like that. So today I wanted to talk about Hick's law, and it's basically a way that which we make choices. Hick's law, it's actually named after a couple people. So the British and an American psychologist team of a guy named William Edmund Hick and Ray Hyman. So in the 50s, these people set out to examine the relationship between the number of stimuli that is present and an individual's reaction time to any given stimulus. In layman's terms, in simple terms, Hick's law is basically the less stimuli that there is, the quicker the reaction time. The more stimuli to choose from, the longer it takes the user to make a decision on which one to interact with. If they're bombarded with choices, it'll take them a lot of time to interpret them and decide which one they're going to end up picking, giving them work that they don't want to do. There are exceptions. Instead of just reducing the number of stimuli to make it real simple, that's usually the way it goes in a lot of cases. So generally speaking, the application of the law is simple. If you reduce the number of stimuli, and you get a faster decision-making process. But there are exceptions. A user may have already made a decision before seeing the stimuli. So in that case, the time it takes for them to react is less than if they had already not seen, already determined a course of action. So you can see this everywhere, not just in web and app design. You can see it on the controls on your television remote or even an iPhone. So an iPhone is a good example. So there's really only one button. Now there's no buttons really, but there used to be the home button, right? Like I have a Samsung, and there's one home button here, and then a couple buttons for volume and the power on, screen on. So really only a couple of buttons here, and that limits the amount of decision time that I have to make. Now, I'm already familiar with this phone and how it works, so my decision time is even faster with deciding which button to use. This is something that is huge in design, especially. If you separate the essential material from the secondary, the less likely to be selected options, it's huge. On one hand, we may know which aquarium will jump out at most users and which are the more specialized ones that only expert fish keepers might want. Because we have more familiarity with these functions and choices, we run the risk of forgetting that our users won't have that. So they're arriving at the website or they're examining the product with a fresh perspective. So understanding this difference, we have to stand back. We have to offer the users to get them to decide their next move. Good designers, as I'm learning, try to employ Hick's law to respect their users' time and ensure a higher quality user experience. Another example would be Amazon. So they have a shop by department option. It's clearly visible, and they take the focus and put it on the search box. They give you one option to choose from, and they make sure that you find what you're looking for. Imagine, the number of choices that would appear if on the homepage of Amazon designers didn't have in mind Hick's law, because they sell obviously a lot of different kinds of things now. But the list of departments is visually broken out into groups on the top left of the page, and you can get there if you want, but searching via the separate brackets is really the way to go. This is used for categorizing choices to make the complex simple. And the page views and the time on site, there's a sweet spot for most websites when it comes to the time spent on each site. If there's too little time spent, the user is likely left without buying anything or registering for anything, accomplishing the task you want them to accomplish. If they spend too much time, they may get caught up in the information. It's too much, and they may, again, not buy what you want them to buy or register for what you want them to do. So you really have to find just enough time. The majority of users who will make a purchase and register will do so. You can start to gauge the sweet spot using Hick's law to either increase or decrease the amount of time spent on the site. If the decision making is so simple that they make little progress towards their objectives each time they make a decision, they'll be as likely to leave as users who find the process super frustrating or confusing because they've already seen too many options at once. To kind of wrap it all up and take it away, as designers, we have an important choice to make before presenting users with choices we hope they will select on our sites or our applications or products. We have to use Hick's Law in conjunction with other design principles, especially on a thing like a landing page, to make the most desired options stand out. Sometimes there's no avoiding the complexity, especially if we're involved with presenting a huge amount of needed information about very complicated products or services, but using Hick's Law can help us reduce the complexity by simplifying the decision-making process for the user. Remember that it's just a guideline that you can adapt to your design. We always try to flip the perspective to see the choices you want to present from the outside perspective. Let's try to avoid flooding with options, but keep in mind the balance between the user's time and the comfort zones for handling the options on a page. We need to guide them to select between clear options that'll get them somewhere quickly, like a shopping cart, and will take the work out of the user experience and reward both of us. Because as UX designers, that's what we want at the end of the day, right? We want the user to be rewarded, and we want to be rewarded for our work as well. If you have some feedback for me, please let me know in the comments or Twitter or anywhere online. Let's continue this conversation, and if you have any ideas for my next video, let me know. Thanks. Bye.